Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by the two favourite Merc with Mouse movie reviewers from down under. Don't know where I went with that. Merc with Mouse. Mercenaries with Mouse. Yep, as we like to say it. If you haven't figured out what we're reviewing based on the title or
maybe some colour change,
my t-shirt, some colour change, I don't know what to tell you. You might be blind, you might be dead, who knows. But it is none other than Deadpool and Wolverine, a film that we have both been looking forward to for quite some time. It is officially the first entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that is obviously very much related around previous Fox characters. So, obviously they bought it a few years ago and we've had cameos here and there. And
it is also the direct sequel again, isn't it? Technically the third film.
Yeah, cool. Pretty much. So, but in terms of what I will chat about, it'll be very much nil. We'll probably keep this, well, not probably, we will keep this as spoiler-free as possible.
Always.
There is a reason as to why the film has been advertised the way it is. I think looking at the trailers, you probably only have the first 30, 40 minutes of the film covered in that.
Sometimes not even.
And yeah, it's definitely for a reason, but this is 100% a film that I would recommend going in knowing as little as possible and enjoy every ounce of surprise that you know. So if you are here for spoilers, we will not give you that. Just go see the film. But it is directed by Sean Levy, who directed Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. He also directed Real Steel back in the day, 2013, I think, with Hugh Jackman. So they've recouped and they've come and collected, and I'll leave it there in terms of plot and a bit of backstory. But we're lucky, obviously, enough to see this early, so it'll release when embargo is up.
Thanks, Disney.
Man, I'm baffled that this film exists.
Interesting.
In the best way possible.
Interesting. Tell me more.
In the best way possible, in the sense that just it's a Marvel film and it's MA here, but the amount of curse words, the violence, the just everything in it, and the self-deprecating humor, especially towards Marvel, towards previous franchises and things like that.
Acquisitions.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to talk too much about it. It's a very hard film to review now that I'm talking about it, but it's everything I wanted. There are a few kind of quips, not quips, but a few things that I'll get into later. But at the end of the day, the film, you know what you're expecting. I think you get that and potentially more. It might be one of the funniest films I've seen this year. Not that I really can count on one hand.
That's why my mind went straight away. I was like,
how many comedies? But obviously, you know what you're getting with Deadpool 1. But the most I can touch on in terms of spoiler-free is obviously the cast is fantastic.
Yep.
I do think seeing Hugh Jackman, who is probably the first comic book performance that's genuinely been fantastic, was obviously him originally, and he was one that was this is Wolverine. You can't really see many other people doing it, but it was great seeing him back. And obviously there was been a lot of questions about potentially with Logan ending and that being a great film.
Yeah.
How had this done? I think it did I don't think it took away anything from Logan, in my opinion.
No.
I don't know if you feel the same.
No, I feel like they did that quite well.
I thought Ryan Reynolds was fantastic. He plays the same thing.
He plays himself in everything.
To be honest, I think it's heading along the same route where he is Deadpool. I can't imagine anyone else being that quick-witted, incredibly funny with all his improvisation.
Yep.
I also thought I enjoyed the character of Cassandra Nova. I did enjoy that kind of story, but I also thought Matthew McFadden as Mr. Paradox was one of the standouts for me as well, which I love him with all my heart. He's one of my favorite actors, working on my favorite TV show of all time, in Succession. So I knew what he could bring to it.
I haven't seen much of his work.
Pride and Prejudice. He's a great role actor. But I knew what he was capable of, and I thought he was probably the best performance of the movie in terms of acting, but probably the least likable in a sense. But it's Yeah, I just had a genuine blast. It might be, I know we saw Twisters a couple of weeks ago and we said how much fun we had in that. Not that it was necessarily
Different
the best.
kind of fun.
Not that it was the best film of the year
Yeah.
in terms of twist, but like it's just, I laughed. I was blown away by what I was seeing,
Yep.
who I was seeing. Like, just, there's a lot of fun and they do 100%. There's scenes in here that it's like, we want to cater to the audience. And, you know, I think they're quite self-referential of the film about how there might have been a few missteps along the way in the MCU. And I think this is definitely a step in the right direction in terms of form. And it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the better ones possibly of the whole saga, to be honest.
Yep.
Especially obviously recently, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I actually I had a thought in my head, but I couldn't agree more with something that you said. Anyway, for me, if you've seen the first and you've seen the second, you already know what you're going to get with the third. And if I'm to cater it towards audiences who are just a little bit here for the fun, I guess, it is dumb fun again, and it's an absolute blast for me. Couldn't agree more that it definitely was one of the, I think one of the better ones, and some performances were great. Ryan Reynolds, yeah, it'd be hard to see anyone else play the role, except if there was like a dumb cameo or something like that. Like it's the only time you could really see it, but he's, absolute standout along the board. I just thought it was great. Like I had such a good laugh. It was very well shot, and I love a great slow motion scene. And when we did the trailer reaction, I think it was either trailer 1 or 2. Don't know if we actually put it on the channel, but we definitely watched it together.
No, we did. I remember doing.
But some are like those.
That action. I think you're talking about the slow mo reloading. And,
oh man, I just thought it was epic. I love that kind of stuff where it's all the minuscule details, and you get a moment to actually absorb like that value, how epic that felt. And it was great. I don't know if I agree with you when it comes to the best performance was Mr. Paradox or whatever, but it was pretty good.
I mean, objectively, he was, yeah, sure.
What?
Objectively, he was the best performance.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. Really.
He had the most range, absolutely, by a long margin. He had the most interesting and intriguing performance among. I mean, you're getting a one-tone Deadpool, obviously. Like, there's a couple of sequences here.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
I got to touch on one. I know you. I actually got to agree with you. I didn't know how I felt about Sean Levy directing the film, just in terms of his previous work. Like, he's done the Night at the Museum movies. He's done a few episodes of Stranger Things. Free Guy. Like, I thought Free Guy. Like,
I love Real Steel.
Everyone. Sorry,
Real Steel or whatever.
Yeah, it was all right.
Enjoyed it.
But the action was fairly well shot in this film. There's actually a scene towards the end as well, which is like a one-er. It's one take, but I actually felt like it was a bit of a homage to like 2D side-scrolling fighting games. And I was just taking in everything that was happening. And I was like, this is such a sick shot to look at. But I really, the only probably when I said before is I had a few, I feel like for me, 99% of the jokes landed. I would be very open in saying that, like, unless you are chronically online or like there will be jokes in the film. And to be honest, I think it's probably I haven't watched Deadpool 1 and 2 in quite some time, but I know it's probably similar situation. So like, it's one of those things that I don't know how it'll hold up. And that might be why I haven't watched Deadpool 1 and 2, because it's got jokes that are very, very time and current. Like, so it's like you watch it now and you're like, yeah, this is fantastic. And it's just one of those things that I'm not sure how it will hold up. I do think it got a little bit, some of the story beats kind of stopped and then started, but I thought it was actually I think it probably a bit confusing in terms of the timeline in the MCU situation. I don't know how it could have handled that any better, because it's obviously trying to juggle up a multitude of things. But I didn't feel like that got any easier on me. And even then, like, I'm very much into the MCU and love these movies. And still very like, aware. Whereas like, someone who might not be aware but watches every film, I can't imagine them being like not confused to some extent about certain situations or how it might end. But you're spot on though. Like I had an absolute blast laughing. I was smiling the whole time, and it's obviously great seeing Hugh back again. But like it was just like, and when I mean this in the best way, I'm just baffled that this film exists. Like I'm baffled that Disney gave the green tick on a lot of these jokes.
I think it's fantastic.
Oh no, like I'm not complaining.
No. I'm not saying you are, but I think it's fantastic. Some of those kind of like quip jokes did go overhead. Some of them because I'm not really up to date with anything that happens in the universe, really. Actually, I'll let you tell your point before I continue. I was about to tangent off from there.
I can't remember what point I was going on. So you better.
I was going to say, I know that one thing you mentioned earlier when I said right at the start when I said I forgot what you said, and I totally agree with you, and that was some of how they portray the breaking of the fourth wall, and I feel like Deadpool does that the best, and because obviously the character's kind of well designed for it. I felt like they deliver that quite well.
Well, yeah, they've done that in the comics. And
I don't think that a lot of things in this film will hold up because those jokes are kind of current. I think you've got about a 5 year on them, and then someone's going to completely forget about certain events, some of those quips, some of those fourth wall breaking, here's a joke for you now kind of moments. But yeah, it was great to see.
Well,
Disney
you watch
get
it
the
now,
green
and
light.
there might be a joke about a certain person or a certain situation,
Yeah,
like in real life, and it's like you do watch that in 5 years, you might forget. So it's like it's not as funny, but I still think as a film overall, I do think it had probably the best story of any of the Deadpool films.
Yep.
And I do love the fact that it paid love and homage to what we've previously seen with some of these characters being the 20th Century Fox universe.
Yeah.
It did pay love and respect in that regard, even though some of them might not be the best films or most beloved films. And I did feel like it kind of matched and balanced the emotional beats of the story. There were emotional beats, like, not that I'm going to cry, we haven't reviewed it, but How to Make Millions Before Grandma. It's not a crying situation where I'm sitting there crying, but there were emotional beats for the characters.
I agree.
The only thing with, I guess, seeing Hugh back in as Logan is I would have loved to see a little bit more depth in that, in his specific, obviously it's a specific timeline character, but it felt he was fantastic, but just that story felt very one-dimensional. It was returning to the same thing, whereas obviously you had Wade who was dealing with a multitude of things where he allowed it to bring emotional weight, whereas Logan just had kind of the one situation that it kept drawing back to. So I would have potentially loved a little bit more depth and backstory. Well, not so much backstory, but just depth and a bit more drawing board, like something from the drawing board to bring that up. But overall, like they're really minor, like minute quips. So it's like, take that as you will. That's just my opinion. But I genuinely think this is a return to form and very high up there in my MCU rankings because I had an absolute ball for this. I think people will go nuts at certain scenes, at certain cameos, like just everything in this film. You take it back a couple years when No Way Home came out, and you see all these crowd reactions. It's like this film will get a few of them. We had a few of them. It might get more than 5. Like there are situations in this film where people will be like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
And that is kind of not what we wanted to expect, but like I really didn't know what I was going into because they have marketed this film well.
They have.
I will give them that. I will give them that. They've. I read somewhere that they purposefully leaked fake things so certain situations and things wouldn't get out, and it's like they really wanted to keep this under wraps. I would love to see it. It's gotten me more intrigued in the MCU now, in where it will go and what will happen with these characters. And it just makes me love this kind of series more because you get a film like this where it's funny and balls to the walls action.
Brings you back to ground.
And then your next Marvel film will be Captain America: Brave New World, which like obviously they showed the trailer for, and it's like it's a completely different thematical focus and theme. It's more political thriller, and it's like that's what I love about this. They're all connected. You all get like it's just a return to form, I think, and I'd love to see Deadpool and Wolverine match up again. Whether it happens, I got no idea, but I'd love to see them. I'd love to see another movie.
Give me a Christmas special.
Even a road trip movie. Get them in a whip and driving down Route 66 down the States. But no, I mean, you don't need convincing. It's probably going to be one of the biggest films of the year.
Yep.
It'll definitely be up there. But if you have seen it, comment below. Let us know what you think. Give the video a like because it does mean a lot and it does do a lot for us. And subscribe for more. And then we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.